All right, what's up, party people? It's your host, Sunny Ray. On the Sunny Ray Show, we talk about Bitcoin and more Bitcoin. So today I'm joined by Daniel. Daniel, how's it going, buddy?
Good, how are you?
I am well. I am well. I know right before we hit the record button here, we were reminiscing about the conference. Congratulations once again. I mean, you guys have done such an amazing job over the years. So maybe kick us off to tell people a little bit about maybe just like a top level of who you are, maybe a little bit about the conferences as well. But then we'll kind of slow it down. And like I said, would love to learn a little bit about your past and yeah, talk about the rest of the stuff. But do you want to maybe just do a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
quick level set?
sure. So my name is Daniel Carden. I guess, the organizer, founder of the Canadian Bitcoin Conference. I'm originally from Ireland, as a lot of people know. I'm Irish Canadian. Came to Canada post 2008. So a good story I like to tell is the reason why we came to Canada. Or Manuel is Canadian. She's from Quebec originally. We met in Belfast, but we part of Ireland got hit pretty bad with the great financial crash of 2008. So I remember, as a lot of people, kind of early engineer, just finished university, starting my career, and a lot of people, a lot of older people losing their jobs. So I took the bullet for a lot of people, and or not for a lot of people, but I took the bullet. And we decided to go traveling, and came to Canada. That was it. And uh, part of the or living the GTA, um, uh, Bitcoiner now for probably, I guess, maybe eight to 10 years. We can get into my Bitcoin journey in a little bit, but yeah. I'm an engineer. I do a lot of building services, so I know you're an electrical engineer. I started my career in buildings, love looking at old buildings, fixing old buildings. But I found Bitcoin, as a way to kind of beat inflation, beat the market a little bit, try to get ahead. I'm not working directly in the Bitcoin space, so starting the conference was something I wanted to do to kind of have a foot in that, talk to a lot of people, get part of the community. So that's kind of where I started. So we started that back in 2023. You were there back in Toronto in the first one. And yeah, it's been growing and great for kind of 4 years now. So happy to keep it going.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to kind of just, double click on some of this stuff here, but let's maybe start with your background. You said you're an engineer. It's a mechanical engineer, right? That you are?
Yeah,
So how
mechanical
long have you
engineer. Yeah,
been practicing? Has it been something you've been doing for a couple decades, or what's your mechanical engineering story?
yeah. It's probably it's nearly coming up in 2 decades. I kind of graduated around 2007. So back in Ireland, like I said, I was kind of working post financial crash in Ireland, and you know things didn't go well. We came to Canada, and I started off working downtown Toronto. A lot of the old buildings downtown Toronto, like 900 Bay, and I've done a lot of work there. Um, where else? Along College and Young Street, Front Street, a lot of CBC buildings, kind of Union Station, all that kind of stuff. Working for consultants, uh, doing the building service stuff. Um, yeah, it's I really enjoy the challenge of going into an old building and kind of looking around, figuring out how things work, um, fixing things when people have problems, and come up with solutions. And that's my bread and butter. That's what I love doing kind of day to day. So yeah, I've been doing that for, yeah, like I said, 20 years. Also, I've done a lot of work now in UK and London, and I've been working in Saudi Arabia as well, which I think I talked to you about previously. And yeah, some really interesting projects. So it's really cool to kind of see. It gives you a good um, temperature check almost of what's going on in the world economically as well. Who's building what, what they're doing, innovations in technology as well. So it's a real passion of mine.
Are you able to share the project you and I were talking about in Saudi, or is that kind of under wraps?
Yeah, I mean, like it's not under wraps. The Neon project is the big one. I'm sure people see, they can look online and see the project. It's an ambitious project by the Saudi Arabian government, the PIF. They have loads of sites. I mean, I'll not go into any details, but they have the line and they have Trojena. It's like a ski resort in the mountains. They have Oxagon Village, which is a kind of industrial city that's right on the edge of Saudi there, near Duba, and they have lots of really cool things going on. Having some challenges, I think, at the moment, budgetary and technologically and work wise, but really interesting to see how that plays out over the next number of years.
And then as you're kind of doing this mechanical engineering thing, going around fixing old buildings, uh, was money something that you thought a lot about, or was it only until you got to Bitcoin did you start, asking yourself these deep questions that I think most Bitcoiners tend to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess, do you know, I think the penny dropped for me, I think, early doors. I was listening to Max Keiser back in the day. So I think I could almost pinpoint the times. Like I was working with ACOM in Whitby at the time. So ACOM, a
Hmm.
global consulting firm. We were doing a lot of the TTC and Metrolinx projects that were out there. So it was maybe like Kipling Station or something like that, and that I think maybe one of the new ones, and even like some of the TTC work. But part of my role was, as an early engineer, you're kind of doing a lot of CAD work. You're sitting there, you're drafting, you're, doing 3D modeling, designing pipes and systems, whatever. But I was just listening to podcasts a lot. So I had, Max Kaiser on there. And I also came across, Safety at that point. And one thing that really stood out for me was when I think Safety had said, um, you know, as an engineer, you shouldn't be concentrate or most engineers have to have spend 50% of their time engineering and the other 50% worrying about Japanese economics because the money that they're making just isn't going far enough, and you spend all the time in university training to be an engineer, and then you don't get paid sufficiently to be success to make it worthwhile, really. And that hit home for me. And then obviously coming from Ireland post 2008, we had come and we were like, look, Canada's the land of opportunity. Like we have to kind of make a go of this and try our best. So I was buying property and renovating property as well. So when you talk about, was money a thing? Wasn't re it wasn't really, but I guess in the back of my head that I knew, I was young, ambitious, had time, and I wanted to work and try to get ahead. So I was looking at different avenues to try and do that. And then, I was reading books like Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad book. I hear that story a lot, where a lot of people start off there, but you start off there, and then you go into property. And I was buying silver and investing in gold as well, and then eventually, I think when I think back in 2013, 2014, Max Keiser and a few of those guys, and you're listening to people on Twitter and trying to do some research, and you the feeling that the silver market's pretty manipulated. There's lots of paper silver out there, and then you kind of you start to come on to Bitcoin, and I think that was my progression, and then there's obviously, once you get into it, there's speculation, there's shit coins, there's pump and dumps, there's all these kind of things. But once you kind of move through the noise and you get to the core values of it, then that's when you can relax a bit, I think.
So true, so true. Well said. I think I had a similar kind of storyline as well. But the names that come to my mind, as in like the people that I think if it wasn't for, I probably wouldn't have taken Bitcoin seriously, is Robert Kiyosaki is definitely one of them. Another one is Dr. Ron Paul, right? The whole kind of educating the masses on, audit the Fed and the importance of gold and just studying monetary history and policy is another guy, and the third guy is this guy named uh is it Mulroney or you know what I'm talking about? There's this
Yeah,
guy,
yeah, he's
he was talking about
Mike, not Mike,
gold,
Mike
Mike
Maloney.
Maloney or something
Yeah,
like that, yeah?
Mike Maloney. Yeah, yeah,
But I was gonna say is when I learned about Bitcoin, all three of them were just kind of singing their own song. But I think all three of them have come to, they've come to Jesus moment with Bitcoin. And now Robert Kiyosaki, every time I open up Twitter, I see something about by him going super viral. And Ron Paul's
yeah,
obviously a Bitcoin advocate, and even the Maloney guy, I see him talking about Bitcoin. So it's quite a what a journey, no? The last you said you've been in it for 8 years, but like wow, like so much has happened, and now you've got Robert Kiyosaki's buddy Trump taking office and talking about Bitcoin. So yeah, amazing
yeah, yeah.
time. What a lovely time to be alive. So Daniel, tell us a little bit more about, I guess, like your Bitcoin stories. You said you were reading Saif's book, you were reading a bit of Robert Kiyosaki's book, but was there like a specific moment, or was it kind of like a like a slow kind of coming to moment where over a couple of years you realize that this is something big?
Yeah, I think it it was a slow burning moment. I can't remember back, if there was one moment back in time, but um, obviously I think the 2017, 2018, there was lots of rise and falls of Bitcoin and aggressive plays. But there was a lot of, shit coinery as well. I mean, I remember I made some money on Dogecoin. I think probably everybody could say, I don't know if they could have that claim to fame. I lost money in Celsius as well back in the day. So you kind of go through those the rite of passage and um those I think a lot of people say, oh well, if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be where I am today, and wouldn't be a self custody advocate, or wouldn't have secured your Bitcoin as well as you do, and you go through those stages. But I don't know if there was any real. I think being in real estate actually and seeing the rise actually. I think in Canada and in Toronto in general, the rise of the real estate market over from kind of 20, I kind of watched it from about 2012 to 2020. And I remember saying to my wife at the time, I go, look, we saw this in Ireland happen, in 2008, 2007. I saw a lot of people get burned back then. This isn't real life. Like we can't, we have to take this seriously and understand that at some point, the chicken's going to come home to roost. On the real estate market, a lot of people are going to get burned. This can't go up. And then looking into why that was happening and why the real estate was overheating and and I think then it's like you said, almost with, listen to Ron Paul and the Fed and money printing, and you start going down these rabbit holes about, right, why are these things, why are these assets inflating, or why are things going up? And, you can relate it all back to, the money printing and how they're, you know, deflating the currency or the debasing the currency. So I think that, realizing that I guess around that time and you know going when you're in the real estate game, money was becoming easy and too easy to get. And you could see people, buying boats and refinancing their house and or their mortgage, home equity line of credit. Everybody had one of those, and people were going on vacation. Everybody was living the high life, and I always had this fear in the back of my, back of my head. Look, like we have to be careful here. But when you were going into the bank and you were saying, right, I'd like to refinance, I'd like to buy another house or investment property or whatever. And they would say, oh, well, why don't you take another 100,000 and do it up, and renovate it and, add some value to it. And even real estate agents were kind of buying into that hopium, I guess, and they were saying, oh, it's like, it's going to go up forever. And I always had that little bit of doubt in my head that, this can't go on. So I guess that being in that world and kind of seeing that, that clown world kind of go on, I realized that, to look into things a bit more and to understand. And really, once you understand the game, you can understand how to play it a little better. And that was kind of then from 2020, 2021, on, I really knew that, Bitcoin for the long term is and sound money principles are the way to go.
And like one of my favorite themes is to explore this idea of building on Bitcoin, whether it be Lightning or the Canadian Bitcoin Conference. Like I see all of us as like builders. So how did you go from, okay, Bitcoin's the future, having this kind of, moment and then all of a sudden being like, not only is it the future, like I'm gonna step into this space and, make a mark. And now here you are running, the most successful Bitcoin conference in Canada, which is quite a feat. So yeah, do you remember how that happened? Was it a conversation with your wife? Was it that you woke up one morning and you were just like, this is it, or what?
Yeah, yeah. So I think you know, I don't know if I remember talking to you at the time, but I remember talking or looking at people and thinking, right, well, and you kind of play to your strengths. So I'm an engineer and I like houses and old buildings and I like, construction and stuff. So I was thinking to myself, okay, how do I apply this to Bitcoin? And I know now some companies have Bitcoin backed loans and mortgages and stuff like that. But that wasn't really, I'm not really in the finance space. I wasn't in the kind of tech space. Not too. I was more learning about, the Bitcoin and trying to gather up as much money, as much information as possible, on Bitcoin. And my wife, Manuela, she's an event planner, being an event planner, event manager for, big insurance companies, various different contracts in Canada, and she does runs big events. And there was no real. Well, I know Dave had a conference in Calgary, Bitcoin Rodeo going as well, but in Eastern Canada there wasn't really an event. And I thought to myself, you know, I would like to contribute. I'd like to contribute to the Bitcoin space, but I can't start a company, or I don't think it's the best thing for me to start a company that's in the building on Bitcoin. So I thought to myself, okay, Manuela's got this expertise of running events. Let's do a conference. And I think once I kind of started, or once we started that, I really, really enjoyed being able to connect to, people like yourself and Brad Mills and Nolan and, Dave Bradley and Francis and all these guys. And over the last number of years, then you've been able to get a direct plug in to these guys who, like who, and there's a brilliant community in Canada and brilliant community of Bitcoiners. And that to me, once we started that, I was like, okay, this is what I would like to do because this gives me access to all these brilliant people. And that's why I thought I could give back, and I think we have, and when you some of the great stories we hear coming out of the conference are, people starting businesses after meeting at the conference for the first time, or people, becoming really good friends, or people who've met online and who have never met in person, and then come to the conference, and then they develop relationships. So that's kind of really how I think, I like to give back.
And am I mistaken? Did I hear or see a tweet or something where you mentioned that you're going to be bringing it back from Montreal to Toronto next year? Or am I mistaken?
Yeah, yeah, probably in one of the groups. So yeah, we've had it in Montreal for a couple of years. It's Montreal's a great place. We've been able to grow it significantly in Montreal. But I think the challenge that we found this year is a lot of people maybe weren't able to travel. There's a big, Bitcoin community in Toronto, and I don't think a lot of people were able to travel this year. So we thought to ourselves that I think bringing it back to Toronto would be a good it's a good time. So yeah, that's the plan. So we're planning
You haven't nailed
for
down a place or a time yet, right? I guess you're working on all that.
no contract signed, but the time's probably around end of September, early October this year, 2026. So yeah, keep your calendar free for that if you can.
Definitely will. Definitely will. So, tell me what did you get out of this now? Like, so you've been doing this for 3 years, right? Like, is it mostly relationship building? Is that kind of what was your main objective and mission accomplished? Was it more to potentially maybe find your business partners and other ventures? Are you guys more just thinking, let's double down on the conferences and stay focused on that? But where are you now versus, let's say, where you were at the beginning of this?
Yeah, well, at the beginning, we didn't know if it was worthwhile or not. Obviously, and conferences. I think you've ran some big events, so you know the risks and the challenges with conferences.
Hmm.
Um, whether they you could break even or not, or make a profit. We've been successful. I think really the big thing for us, I think, is that obviously Manuela and our team. We've added a few people to that team this year. I think we have really, really good relationships with people. We have really good relationships with good companies in Canada, and that has stood us in good stead. So we've been able to build on those relationships and help them be part of their marketing team and connect those people with customers in Canada. Um, we're going to keep growing. We're working on a media company as well, which is alongside the conference. I mean, it kind of makes sense. We have the contacts, we have the content. So we're working on that at the moment. We're hoping to develop, in Canada and keep growing as well, and possibly, have more than one event across Canada, because we can see Bitcoin's growth, we can see the trajectory, we can see the companies that are starting, we can see, where this is going for the next number of years. So we want to be part of that. When I started this, or when we started this, there was no real plan, because we're all not I shouldn't say we're all early to Bitcoin, but I don't think anybody really knows where Bitcoin's going. Or sorry, shouldn't say that. I don't think anybody knew how it was going to get to where it's going to. Um, so my plan was always, if you don't know what to do, do something. So, that was like, we just, okay, let's start a conference. We started a conference. We did it for 1 year. It was good. We didn't fail at it. We got great feedback. We did it the next year. And then you develop, and like I said, over the last number of years, we've developed great relationships, good companies coming in. We now have content, we have a presence, we have all these things. So I think for us, we're growing and growing in the right direction. So we're going to keep that going, and hopefully, um, you know, be a real uh, presence in Canada for Bitcoin.
Well, I like the sound of that. Well, Daniel, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of sensed that there was a bit of a vacuum here in Toronto, and I was kind of thinking with some buddies that maybe we got to bring our conferences back. But when I heard you saying that you're gonna do it, I was like, I'm all in support. I love your guys' vibe and everything. So if there's anything, we can do to just align our efforts and push you guys up higher in some way. And yeah, just get the community together at the end of next year. We'd be very much open to that. We're doing, I told you, so monthly. It was weekly initially, but monthly meetups. And I just get such a kick out of hanging out with Bitcoiners, people who are just getting into it now, people who've been in it for 10 years and everything in between. Hey, we got a minute left. Daniel, why don't you tell everybody, where people can learn about the conference, where they can, maybe tap into your vibe? Like, are you on Twitter? Is there a website? Where do you want people to go?
Yeah, so the Canadian Bitcoin Conference website is www.canadianbitcoinconf.com. On Twitter, it's CDN Bitcoin Conf, at CDN Bitcoin Conf. There's a few other socials. We have a YouTube channel as well. We're kind of populating that at the moment with a lot of the content. But yeah, I'm doing the rounds, talking to lots of people, doing lots of podcasts. So I'm sure people will see me out there soon.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Daniel, for everything that you do. And I know I for sure really appreciate the fact that you and your wife put together these events, and yeah, and I think you're in a good place because your wife, if she did this professionally, I'm sure you won't run into the same, challenges that I had. And you guys make a great team, and thanks again for letting me speak on stage. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. We love having you, and yeah, long may it continue.
Awesome. All right, we'll talk soon, buddy. Take care. Cheers.
Okay, thanks.